Pilot. Well, hello, pilots. I decided to come out like I told y'all I would. It is Friday. My apologies. I spoke to you guys earlier in the week, and I told you that I was gonna do a video to help you with your card game. And so, as of right now, I am literally working on my second card game. The way that it works with me, one of the things I've learned about God is whenever you open up a vein, he'll continue to speak to you through that vein. And so once I finished my second card game, I started having visions. And so this is usually what happens to me. I'm not going to say usually, but it happens from time to time. Sometimes I'll have snapshots. Like snapshot moments that last maybe a second or several milliseconds or what have you, but it's not very long, but I have a flash that comes up. And so I had a flash of colors. I just kept seeing beautiful colors, like color arrangements and stuff like that. And I was like, yeah, I could tell that it was for card games. And so I was in church on Monday when it was happening. I grabbed my phone and I'm just trying to plug the colors in real quick, so that I don't forget them. And that's a note that you guys need to take, is make sure that anytime the Lord shows you something or he gives you something, he says anything to you, that you record it. Do not try to commit it to memory. One of the things that I've learned and experienced is that if you try to commit something to memory, God says write the vision and make it plain. I think that sometimes that could be a little bit disrespectful to him, and so you'll find that a lot of the things that he says to you that you don't record, you may have it in your head, and you say, hey, that's a really good idea, and you come home only to find that you can't remember it. And so that's happened to me plenty of times. And then I had to learn, just always make sure that I'm ready. I used to go out to eat when I was living in St. Petersburg, Florida. I would go out to eat and at first I wasn't taking anything with me. I would just go to the restaurant and sit in, and I would just lose all of this revelation that God was just sitting there downloading into me. And so I got to the point where I realized, hey, you better take a notebook with you or something like that. I don't know why I didn't record it on my phone at the time. I don't even know if I was aware that I could record on my phone, but I just remember I started taking a notebook with me every time or every weekend, because I went out every weekend, sat in a restaurant and ate or what have you. But I would take my notebook with me. Always make sure that I'm sitting at a booth, and I will always take my notebook with me. So with that being said, let's talk about the card game, guys. Excuse my appearance. Obviously I have on makeup, but that's completely fine. Right now, one of the things that I just wanted to do is just come out and talk to you guys about the card game, only because I'm sitting here working on my card game. It is Friday, 1:08 p.m. and I'm almost finished with my second card game. I actually started the rules, the guidelines for this card game on yesterday, and so I'm pretty much done with it. I'm just kind of working out the kinks with the game. That means just getting the rules together, trying to visualize how the game is going to be played or what have you. So I wanted to talk to you guys because I realize some of you may be stuck and you have 10 days left in this particular assignment, and I don't, guys, hear me when I say this, I don't want you to turn in no crappy work. Seriously, I do not want you to turn in no crappy stuff. I don't want you to throw a card game together, because I worry that some of you are doing that. I'm concerned that some of you are sitting there and you're just like, you know what, I'll wait. I'm not going to do it right now. I got other things that I want to work on, and then you're going to wait till you have like 3 or 4 days left, and then you're going to try to think something up. And it's really hard. You don't realize you got to conceptualize this thing. You got to sit down and you got to make sure that no player oversteps another player, that the rules make sense, that you have a really good objective, and that everything plays over well. You got to make sure you have rules, guidelines. You want to make sure that the game can be played flawlessly. So I'm going to tell you guys one of the things that I plan to do with my first game. Not sure if I told you guys the name yet, but the first game that I have is called Lone, L-O-N-E Shark, Lone Shark. I thought that was really creative, and yeah, I'm not going to give you guys the details as of yet because I haven't copyrighted, and even though I love and trust y'all, this is the worldwide internet, and so you got to be real smart about that. And so my goal, just for you guys to know, my goal, since you paid $35 for a copyright, I'm going to create 3 games and then copyright them all at the same time. For me, I don't like to waste money, meaning I'm not trying to copyright them 1 game at a time. And so for those of you who say, hey, listen, I want to do the same, that's fine, but then it means that before the 22nd, you need to copyright 3 games because you guys are going to be turning your games in. And I'm going to make sure that I have mine copyrighted before the 22nd, only because I'll be getting you guys games. So if anybody has anything similar to me, which I doubt, but if anybody has anything similar to me, I want to make sure that I'm protected, that I can reach back out to you and say, hey, wait. And so with that being said, I don't think that's going to happen. So anyhow, let's talk about how to create a game, how to create a game. First off, where does this idea come from? This is something that God downloaded into me. One of the things that I believe that he does these type of things for is to keep us exercising our creativity, because it's so easy to start getting into the mundane task of doing what you know how to do creatively. There are some things that you can do with your eyes closed. For example, if you happen to be a hairstylist and you've been doing it for years, then you could probably do somebody's hair with your eyes closed. It's not that big of a deal. And so you're not allowed to express yourself creatively the way that God wants you to express yourself. Every once in a while, you may have that one client that allows you to be creative, but for the most part, your creativity is stifled by the fact that you're doing a bunch of mundane tasks. And so sometimes what God will do is he'll give you something that is completely unrelated to what you're doing, just to get you to exercise your creativity so that you can tap into that vein and that you don't become foreign to that vein, or it doesn't become foreign to you. I've seen this happen many times, and I know with myself, God oftentimes will give me a strategy, an idea that's completely disjointed from the things that I'm doing, and I've learned to stop questioning that, because for a long time I did question it. I used to listen to, I remember especially before I had a church home, I would see people posting up things like, you know, don't be a jack of all trades and a master of none. And it made me feel some type of way, because I was like, okay, so what do you do if you have a lot of talents? If God is just constantly speaking to all of those talents, and, you know, sometimes you are all over the place, what do you do? And, you know, I remember just struggling with that, because I was like, okay, well, that makes sense what they're saying, so let me just focus on one thing and try to master that. All the while, everything else is popping off over here, here, and here, and I may not be getting anything creatively from God in regards to the one thing that I'm trying to master. And then before long, all of these other ones start to kind of die off. And so I don't hear God over here anymore, and I don't hear God over there anymore. And I went to the Lord about it. I was praying. I said, Lord, like, okay, what they said makes sense. I don't want to be a person who is a jack of all trades and a master of none. And he just really set it down for me really nicely. And he said, you know, a lot of times when that message is preached, it's going to be preached by somebody, first and foremost, who has one talent. Now, you got to realize that there are people who have multiple talents. You got to look at the parable of the talents. And so there are some people who have multiple talents who preach that message or who teach that message. But then again, there are some people who just really have one talent. And so, of course, they're going to say you need to master one because that's all they have, or they may have 2 talents. And so, of course, they're going to say you need to master one because that's all they have. And so you want to make sure that you're always taking instruction from somebody who can relate to your struggle, and not in 100% of the cases, but you want to make sure that when it comes to your talents, your gifts, that there is somebody who can actually speak to those things, somebody who can help you. And so that's one of the reasons that I'm really glad that God chose my church instead of me choosing my own church. And so my church is a creative church, and it's funny because I'm a creator. And so when I was praying and asking God about all the churches, you know, that I could possibly go to, God just never would answer. He never would say, this is it, this is that. I just remember one specific time when I first moved to Georgia, and I had started going to a church, or I had visited a church one time, and I was at one particular time I really heard God say, I didn't call you to this place. You know, and he wasn't telling me that I couldn't come or I couldn't visit, but he was saying, this is not going to be your church home. These are not going to be your spiritual parents. And so with that being said, it's okay to have multiple gifts. It's okay to be talented. It's okay for you to exercise all of your gifts. Now, I do agree with this, that you should have one primary, or oftentimes God will give you one main gift, and you need to put a lot of time and energy into that. Even when you're working your other gifts, you want to make sure that you're always putting time and energy energy into that particular gift. But you want to always pay attention to the voice of God, and make sure, and this is a creative note, make sure it is the voice of God, because the enemy can use something to distract you from what God wants you to work on, and it's called ambition. And so the enemy can give you a good idea, and you get excited about it, and you go running over there when you were supposed to be working on something over here. So you want to make sure that you're always hearing God's voice. And how do you know that it's God's voice? Because God puts a burden on you. It's going to be something that has nothing to do with your ambition. It's going to be something that has nothing to do with your desire to be great. It's just going to be a burden. It's going to be a burden, and you can pray about it, and it won't lift. No matter what you do, it won't lift. And so you want to make sure that it's a burden from God. Okay, so with that being said, your card games need to start off with this. First and foremost, you got to have an objective. Don't try to come up with a name until you have an objective. Don't try to come up with a name. I think a lot of you may get stuck on the name, and that is silly. This is pretty much similar to what I tell people when they're writing a book. Don't sit there and try to write a book. Don't try to figure out the title of the book yet. You may know that God has called you to write a book about maybe strategizing, a strategy book. Don't try to come up with a title for it as of yet, because that'll make you get stuck, because God may want to expound that book. God may want to give you something more than strategy. He may start giving you information about being an entrepreneur. So it turns out it's a strategy book about starting your business and stuff like that. And so if you get stuck trying to create a title, you're going to have to eventually get rid of the title, or you're going to start having to just ignore what God is telling you because you're too busy, trying to stay within the confines of that title. So don't get caught up in a title as of yet. You want to make sure that you're just creating your game. You just want to put the details. So first and foremost, let's talk about this, the card deck. We talked about this card deck typically consists of 52 cards. I've been on this card website where that does the printing, and what I found is that they have, I forget how many on the sheet, but I think you can buy 2 sheets, and it's like 54 cards. So you can do a card deck with up to 54 cards, or as many as you want. You just have to buy extra sheets. But a typical card deck has 52 cards in it. So that's FYI. Your card deck can have anything between 50 and more cards. And the reason I say that is because I don't want anybody to try to take a quick way out. I don't want somebody to sit up and say, well, she said we can have as many as we want, and then they come up with 10 cards, and it's not really a game. It's just a bunch of cards. Yeah. So 50 cards. I want you guys' deck to have as little as 50 cards. A typical card deck is 52 cards. Now remember, you can use a traditional card deck. You can use the traditional, I think it's called a poker card deck. You can use that traditional deck, but you have to have your own rules. You can use a traditional card deck, but you have to have your own rules. Now, as of me, for me, I've already created my cards. I've already created my cards for my first game, for my loan shark game, and I have the guy creating the artwork for the specialty cards. So I'm super excited about that. Guys, hear me when I say this. When God gives you something, it does not mean that, oh, God is making me a game creator now. That is not what it means. And I think this is the reason why so many people preach that jack of all trades, master of none, because sometimes people do get confused. Sometimes people don't understand that just because God stirred you in that area doesn't mean that's going to be your primary talent or your primary gift. I believe that God uses these little things like this, 1, to channel money to us, and 2, to kind of challenge us creatively so that we don't get stuck. For example, becoming religious creatives or doing mundane tasks. I believe he uses things like this to challenge us creatively, and that's the reason why I challenge you guys creatively, because he challenged me. And so of course I'm mentoring you, and so I want you to challenge yourself. Again, I don't want you waiting till the last minute. Please don't wait till the last minute, because I'm grading these assignments, and I don't want to hurt anybody's feelings, but I'm not going to sit there and give you a good grade on something that you absolutely just threw together. Don't plagiarize. Guys, I'm really good at doing research, just so you know, because I've had to do this. I'm a publisher. I've ran Anointed Fire magazine, and so I always have to do plagiarism checks. So just so you know, for those of you who are thinking about biting off somebody's instructions in their games, don't do it. Don't do it, because first and foremost, then that shows that you're not creative, or you haven't tapped into your creativity and you're just lazy. So I don't want you guys doing that. So anyhow, your card deck should have about 50 cards in it. You need to have an objective of the game. You need to have an objective. As a matter of fact, that should be the very first thing after you've determined, okay, I'm going to have 52 cards. This is the way I did mine. Okay, I'm going to have 52 cards in my game. And then I decided, okay, and I think I ended up saying 54 since there are 54 total. Or you can do like I said, well, they according to them, I think it's like 27 on each sheet or something like that. I don't remember. But at the end of it, I don't remember. But at the end of it, the way that it works is they do have, if there is an extra card, like on a particular sheet, they're going to have so many cards. Of course, you have to pull them out, or you cut them out. I don't know. But on each particular sheet, there are so many cards. And if you don't use a particular card, they won't include it in the game. So you're missing that particular card. So here, FYI, I decided to do this. I say, well, since people have tended to lose cards, why don't, like if I have a card that only shows up one time in the game, why don't I have it double printed as an extra? If I have a card that shows up one time in the game, why don't I have that printed as an extra card? And that's what I decided to do. I think I got like 1 or 2 cards like that, where I decided, well, since it's, I'm paying for it anyhow, I'll just have that printed, and I'll just have them in the, I put in the game's rules, there's one extra such and such card, just place it to the side, or there's 2 extra cards, just place them to the side. This is in case you lose one of your cards. So you need to have an objective. Now, first and foremost, let's get here, because I think this is the creative part. How do you come up with an objective? How do you come up with an objective? What do you do to come up with an objective? I think that one of the quickest ways or the easiest ways is to first go into a field that you're familiar with. Go into an area that you're familiar with. So let's just say, for example, you do hair. Okay, so what can you're knowledgeable about the hair industry. What can you pull from that? What type of characters do you normally or typically see in the hair industry? What can you pull from that? Let's just say you're familiar with relationships. You can play a relationship game. You can couple your game with your book or whatever it is that you're building. A lot of times people miss the opportunity to create something that would aid in the promotion of their materials, like a book or what have you. And so I think that with my book, Microscribology, you guys know I said I haven't announced it yet. And I'm on camera and the idea just hit me. I think I'm going to do a Microscribology card game. I think that would be awesome. And so I'm going to use my cover and have it on the back of the card, or some, the layout, the background of the cover on the back of the card, and then I'll figure out the instructions or what have you. So again, I said I wanted to do 3 card games, so that's my third one. You want to have an objective. So think about it. You don't necessarily have to be involved in that particular industry, but I want you to think about an industry that you are familiar with. For example, I could talk about relationships. You guys know that that's one of the things that I talk about on YouTube. So I could do a relationship card deck or what have you. And it doesn't have to be for couples. It could be just typical questions, and I can have answers on other cards or something like that. Now, since I've mentioned it, I know somebody's going to probably come out and say, that was my game already. But that's just an example. I want you guys to be as creative as possible. Or think about it this way. Now, this is what helped me. Think about it this way. It's very similar to creating a book or writing a fictional book. You're creating characters. So what does each character do? You determine, first and foremost, you can determine, let's say you have a 52 card deck. You can determine that, okay, I want 20 of these to be numbers. So I want 20 of these to be numbers, and I want to have 2 numbers each. This is something I did with my card deck. So that means that 40 cards are already covered. 40 cards are already covered. That also means that there are 12 cards left. And so I had to determine, and those were going to be my specialty character cards. I had to determine what type of characters I was going to create. And first and foremost, again, I had to create an objective. And so I decided the objective of my game is going to be and I'm not going to say it right now. I'll wait till it's done, and I'll wait till it's copyright, because again, guys, this is a worldwide internet, and I don't want people saying, well, hey, Tiffany, I actually had that idea as well, and when you said it on camera, I was like, OMG. And so, yeah, I want to make sure I copyright that first, but I had an objective. I already had an objective, so you can say the objective is to save the princess from the wicked warriors who overtook her kingdom. And so she has the power to save her people, to release her people. You could say something like that. Or it could be a numbers game. It could be a trivia. It can be, and trivias are really easy, guys. I don't mind you doing trivias, but at least be creative with it, please. Don't just have question and answers. One of mine is kind of a trivia type, but I'm trying to add some creativity in there, add a little bit of fun in there. So have an objective, and as you're creating this objective, I want you to imagine, use your imagination. You got to do that when you're trying to do something creatively. If you're sitting there and you're just trying to create, and you're not using your imagination, you're just like, oh, you're just trying to think something up because it's an assignment for you, you're going to miss the mark. You're going to miss it. You're going to create something that is not worth anything, and that's going to work against you. This is the way it works. If you don't prove to yourself that you're creative, if you don't prove that to yourself, then you will always doubt yourself. So use your head. Use your head. Take your time out and create an overall objective. What is it that you want the people to take from the game? What is it that you want the people to get from the game? I want you to imagine people sitting at a card table playing spades. You see how happy they are? When I created my first game, that's what I thought about. And when I created my first game, I thought about people laughing, clowning, or what have you. So I created Loan Shark. The game that I'm creating now, that I've created, I'm pretty much done with. I just imagine people sitting down and just learning, and there's a little bit of laughter in there, there's a little bit of challenges in there, but I sat down and I imagined the type of players, and the people playing Loan Shark look completely different than the people playing my second game. It's called Tsunami, and I'll give you guys a little bit more details about that once I release it, but it's called Tsunami. So the people are completely different. Now, Tsunami is oh God, I don't know what that was. But Tsunami is a Hebrew word. It's a Hebrew word. And it means understanding. And so that's what I love. You can be creative. You don't have to stick with words within the English language. So I'm trying to teach you, and don't sit there and try. Hear me when I say this, because I know I just gave somebody like, oh yeah, that's what I want to do. I want to use a Hebrew word. I want to use a Greek word. That's fine if you do that, as long as it relates to your game and it makes sense. Don't just throw something. Don't put something Hebrew and it don't make sense with your game. You know, you can go look up the French word for something. You can go look up the Spanish word for something, or the Italian word for something. It doesn't matter. You can look for, there's a language called Afrikaans. You can look for that word. It doesn't matter how you do it. The thing is, just make sure that it makes sense with your game. Make sure that it makes sense. So create an overall objective. Just go ahead and get that out the way. For those of you who are struggling, the issue is you're too busy trying to think of all of the things. In the creative world, you can't let everything jumble up. Your mind is like a highway, and I've learned that you can have a traffic jam. I've had it many times. So one of the things that I do is I focus on one area, and I say, okay, I want to see what's the objective of this game. What's the objective of this game? I think it'd be really neat to have this, or I think it'd be really neat to have that. So what's the objective of this game? And I sit down and I think of an objective. Now, it doesn't have to be a complete objective in the beginning, because it's pretty much like writing a book. I'm just creating an objective, an overall objective, but I may revisit it and add on to it or subtract from it or change it altogether. After I've created an objective, then it's easy for me to create the players. Now, if I say, okay, I want to go into the banking area. Let's just make this a banking game. Or I want to go over here to the music area. Let's make this a musical game. Let's talk about notes. I want to go over here into the area of language. So I want people to learn a new language. I want people to just learn to pronounce words or something like that. What is your objective? Once you have your objective, you can put your players down. So let's just go let's just say we can create a game called foreign exchange student. Foreign exchange student, just off the top of my head. And so the objective of foreign exchange student, I can say, well, every player, there's 4 players, every player represents a foreign exchange student, and then they pull a card from the deck and they determine, okay, this one she pulled Italian, so she's an Italian foreign exchange student. He is a Spanish foreign exchange student. She is a French foreign exchange student, and she's a German foreign exchange student. And so in this particular game, I can have the decks sitting up there, and so you pull a card, or let's just say you have one deck. Each player pulls a card, and if it's a French card, then she has to pose a question to the person that's a French foreign exchange student and say, hey, this is that, so what does it mean? And so the person has to answer it. If they don't answer it, then the other person holds on to that particular card, and that person or somebody else can answer it and collect the point. If they can't, then at the end of the game they have to research it. And so if they keep doing that, eventually they'll have all of the knowledge that is on the board, so they come out of it smarter. You see how I just came up with something just like that? It may not have been the grandest of games, but at the end of the day, there are people who will play that game. See, you just got to have an objective. I'm trying to show you guys how easy it is, and some of you are making it overly complicated. You're overthinking it. Don't do that. Just create a character, create an objective, and then create your characters. Again, you can decide if you want to have number cards. Maybe you want to have alphabet cards. Maybe you want to create a virtual game of Scrabble of sorts, or something like that. Everybody plays and you're trying to spell a word, but you got to make it make sense. Whatever it is that you do, you want to make sure that it makes sense. Then you have your characters. You want to determine what is the role of your characters. Now your characters play into the objective of the game. You're going to have your good characters, and you're going to have your evil characters, your not so good characters. These are your nemesis. These are your villains. And so the villain is always working against their opponent, for example. And so everybody has the potential to be a villain. Even as Christians, we have the potential to be a villain to somebody. Everybody is not going to necessarily love and embrace us. And so some people may see you as their villain. And so in a card game, let's just say you pull a villain card. And so you have an opportunity to set your opponent back. So what are you going to do with that card? So let's just say the game is played clockwise. I can decide, okay, I got this card, this villain card, and the objective of the card is, or the game is for people to go to school and become smarter, or what have you. So they're supposed to be becoming smarter. And so I got this one card where I just say, okay, you're not feeling well today, or you got to stay home today. You're suspended. You're suspended today. I wouldn't say not feeling well, because none of us like anybody to speak that stuff over us. And some people can be super deep. But you have that card game. And so you just say, okay, 3 card game suspension. Or 3 player suspension. 3 plays suspension. 3 plays. That's the word I'm looking for. 3 play suspension. And so for the next 3 plays, he can't play. He's stuck in. And so I need to have somebody that can free him as well, so I can have a good card, or maybe he has a good card where he can free himself, or he may have a partner that can free him. These are things that you can do. I'm trying to help you guys to just open your creative muscles. I'm not telling you stuff that you can come take from me, because that's not being creative. I'm just showing you how to tap into your creative muscle. Is there. God is a creator, therefore he created you, and therefore you are created. God is your creator. You were created in his image, and therefore you are created. And so it is your job to create. You are supposed to act and think like God. All too often we become so caught up in this world's way of just going this way, just in the world system, just doing things the way that the world does them, and then we get so caught up in that, and then we wonder why we're not prospering. It's because we're not tapping into who we are. And then next, you want to determine, after you started creating your characters, you can say, and you want to make sure you count your characters out, because if it's a 54 card game, and let's just say you did 25 numbers, you said 25 numbers, and I'm going to do 2 number 1s, 2 number 2, 2 number 3s. That means I have room for 4 characters left, and so I can create 4 different characters or what have you. And so after you create your characters, you created your cards, then you want to give more details about the objective and how to play the game. And so mine has how the game works. And I have rules for 2 players and rules for 4 players. The rules are very similar. However, they're not one and the same because you have to visualize it. And so in one of my games, the 2-player game, you deal out all the cards. Everybody gets cards. And there is no deck left. But in a 2-player game, there is a deck left. When there's 2 players, but when there's a 4-player game, there is no deck. You don't pull from the deck because everybody has one of the needed cards or what have you. And so you have to have those type of rules out there. You got to make sure that you're thinking it out. So you got to have 2 rules for your 2 players and rules for your 4 players. And then next, what I did was I gave a list of each card and what they were used for. And so one of them in my Tsunami game, it's called a grace card. And so the grace card, I got the rules laid out about what the grace card can do. How does it help? What is it? Challenge. Guys, hear me on this. I know this is going to be the question. Does it have to be a religious or Christian game? No, it does not. My Loan Shark game has Christian undertones, or it has a Christian undertone, but for the most part, is more of a secular type game. But you will see Christianity, like you have to catch on to it. It's laced in there. And so it's one of those type of games. My second game, Tsunami, is a Christian game. And so as long as it's not profane and it's not demeaning and it doesn't promote anything ungodly, yes, it doesn't have to be a Christian game. So let's just say that. So you want to list your cards out. You want to talk about what each specialty card is allowed to do. Each specialty card. And so you talk about this card can override that card when a player plays this card. And hear me on this. If you want to make the game interesting, your real good specialty cards, don't make them so common. Don't make them so common. Let's just say you decide I want to do a 10 number game, and they're going to be 2 of each number from 1 to 10. So that's 20 cards that's covered, which leaves a total of 32 cards left if you have a 52 card deck. That's 32 cards left. So that means that you have to create a minimum of 16 to 32 characters or more. So you don't want to make your characters so common. Now, it's okay if you're playing a character game and the numbers are just an addition to it. But you don't want to make, like when it comes to your major characters, you don't want to make them so common. You want them to be, like when somebody gets their card, you got to think about these type of things. When that person gets their card, you want them to be at the table like this. About to bust her head. I'm about to bust her head. And then you want them to be playing out or what have you. They got a partner, you want them to kind of laugh it off. Also, when it comes to partners, you want to be able to say partners can help each other. They can show each other their hands, or they cannot. In my card games, they cannot show each other their hands, but there's one particular card game where they can hint to each other, and then there's a moment in one of the card games where they could actually verbalize, but they run the risk if their partner doesn't have the card. They're really actually simultaneously helping out the other person, so it's a risk for them. So you want to think of those type of things. And then lastly, you want to create your rules, regulations, and your penalties. Rules, regulations, and penalties. This is where you tell people what they can't do and what'll happen if they do it. Or you tell people, for example, if you're found holding this card at the end of the game, this is how many points are deducted from you. Also, you want to create a point collecting system, and that's going to be your overall objective. For example, if the overall objective is for them to win 1,000 points, then you want to make it feasible. You don't want to say you can only collect 10 points, but they got to collect 1,000 points. That means that's going to be a long game. It's going to be a long game unless they're collecting the points really easy. So you want to make sure that your point, when it comes to collecting points, that they can collect points that are feasible. So if they can only collect 5 points per hand, I'm probably going to say the overall is for them to get 100 points. 50 points to 100 points. I don't want it to be too short of a game, and I don't want it to be too long of a game. I want to make sure that it's long enough that if it's played in a group setting, this is how I think, because, African American, we had those card games. We went to the parties. We grew up in those type of households. We were up there watching Auntie and them play. So one of the things that people did was they stood around and waited their turn. And so the losers had to get up. They were like, get up out the seats. And they didn't say it that way, but the losers had to get up and new players sat down and challenged the winners or what have you. And so you want to think along those terms. You want to think along, okay, your cousin them, you know, or your job, they're having a picnic, a barbecue or something, a fish fry, whatever it is you want to imagine. And people are sitting around playing this game, and you want to imagine, you know, how long it's going to be. Because if you're talking about they're winning 10 points and at the end of a card game they've only won, you know, they count out, I got 30, but the objective is 1,000 points, then yeah, that's going to be a problem, because that game is going to go on forever. You can give them the ability to determine, you can put a range. You can say win anything between 50 to 700 points, for example, as determined by players before the game. You can do that. And so people, if they have a lot of time on their hand, maybe they want the game to go a little bit longer. You know, you can do that in dominoes. But maybe they want the game to go a little bit longer. And so that's fine. It was something else I was thinking about. Yeah, your point system, you want to tell them that they can, you know, collect points. They can write their points out, for example, on a notebook. You want to make sure that you have that in your game. Have pen and paper ready, or you can collect your score via your phone or what have you. The reason you tell them that is so that they're not expecting a scoreboard, because some games do come with scoreboards, and so that's extra money on your part, and it makes no sense. It's a waste of paper. It's a waste of money. So the best thing for them to do is collect the score on a notebook that they may have at their home, the same way they do with spades, the same way they do with dominoes, and I think Go Fish. I haven't played Go Fish in so long I forgot how to play the game. So you want to make sure that you're being creative. It was something else that was on my mind as far as your card game. Yeah. You want to make sure you determine, again, if you want to print it. So I posted up some information on the message board. I posted up an article, but I think it's the same link. I posted up again. It's the same link where you can print your cards. I did just a test run to see how much it's going to cost for me to print my cards, and as of right now, it's just $5. And I'm gonna tell you guys, I'm excited about that, because one of my biggest concerns was that it would be like $10, $15, and I'm like, well, how am I going to sell that? Because I do want to put it on my site. I've also found mock-ups that I can use, and so I'm going to use mock-ups. I've already designed it, but I've already designed my cards for the first card game, and I love them. I'm going to see if I can record it for you guys. Let's see if I can record it and just play it from my phone. But I've already designed my cards for my card game, and yeah, it's been awesome. All right, I'm just gonna hit record on here and then just show it to y'all from my phone. But I've already in a second, guys. All right. Sorry, guys. I've already created my cards for my first game. And again, I'm just waiting on the guy with the characters so we can do the specialty card game. So I'm trying. That's the back of my loan shark card. And this is my loan shark cards. Just to show you guys an example, I'm waiting on him to do the characters for the card game. But again, you want to make sure that you imagine people sitting around playing the game. You want to imagine that. You want to make sure that it's feasible. One of the things that I'm planning to do with my loan shark game, I've thought about doing this, and I'm trying to figure out how to do it with my tsunami game. My tsunami game is not so much for everybody, because it's a Christian card game and it's a challenging type trivia type game. But for my loan shark game, one of the things that I'm going to do is I'm going to have people to meet me at the park. I'm going to have them to meet me at a park or something like that has a bench, and I want them to play it. I'm going to email them the rules. I've already had a couple of people to say that, hey, I want to be a part of that. My phone has an excellent camera, and I also have my camera up in there. And so I'm going to email them the rules maybe 4 days to a week before the game, and I'm going to tell them study the crap out of the rules. I want you to get an understanding of how it's played. And I may even let them come to the park and play a few hands before I take my camera and I'm going to record them playing the game. I'm going to record them playing the game. So is the objective for the game to go viral? If it goes viral, that'll be great, but that's not the objective. Again, for me, it's all about keeping that creative vein open and just allowing God to use you, because you never know what he wants to do with that. Who's to say that maybe one day I may not be sitting in a meeting with somebody who says, well, I just started a game card company, or I just got this contract with, not Nabisco, that's a cookie company. What's the name of it? It's a toy company, Fisher-Price. I just came up, I just got a $5 million contract with Fisher-Price, and I'm gonna tell you something, I don't even know what to do. I have no idea when it comes to games, and I may be able to come up there and say, hey, listen, I got some game ideas, I can help you out, or what have you. And of course they got to have a bigger contract than that, but it's just an example. You never know how God is going to use what you have put out there. You guys have heard me give this example before. I love to use this example, especially when I'm talking to people who are writing their books, because people oftentimes think that their first book should go viral. People often think that their first book should sell out. And I tell them, I said, no, oftentimes people don't know who you are. And even the ones who don't know who do know you are not as supportive as you think they should be. And that's okay. That's just a part of your process. But when it comes to writing a book, I tell them like this. I said, I want you to think about that couple that went viral. The man went and proposed to his girl, and he married her on the same day. She didn't even know that he was going to propose, yet alone marry her on the same day. And so he blindfolded her. He had her blindfolded. He proposed to her first, and then he had her blindfolded, taking her from one place to the next, and, you know, telling her she was going to do a photo shoot, put her in this big old beautiful black ball gown and all this other stuff. And then at the end of it, she's blindfolded, don't know where she's going. She gets out of the limo. Her dad comes up, grab her arm, and when they take the blindfold off of her, she's crying because she realizes she's at her own wedding, that this man is literally marrying her on that day. And that was amazing. That was beautiful. And I tell people, I said, could you imagine, you know, if that video went not just viral, it went super viral. Could you imagine had they had a book out there? They would be millionaires right now. Had they had a book out there. I tell people this all the time. Don't get caught up in trying to wait till you get the notoriety or till you get out there, because by that time you may only get 15 minutes of fame. You got to look at some of the major men in the Bible. They had one big showdown. Look at Jehu. You know, there are people in the Bible, they had one big showdown. Their whole life came down to one big showdown. They had this one big event, and they were never heard of again, or heard from, or not heard from, but never heard of. The Bible didn't mention them anymore after that event. Who's to say you don't have one big major event that's coming up that God's going to use you? You don't want to be ill prepared when that time comes around. If these people had had a book out, if they had had a book out, if this man had been writing a book on the side, I want you to imagine if he was saying he was jotting his journey along the way, and he's talking about how he's going to propose to her. He's talking about all the things that he's going to do, you know, how he loves her, how he's in love with her. Had he talked about, you know, how he's planning the things, and, you know, all the things she's done for him, if he had done that, and then because what they did was they put her face, because they did do a book a year later, but their 15 minutes of fame was up. Now they still got sales, I'm pretty sure. However, they should have had the book out there in the heat of the moment, when that moment hit. But could you imagine, had he had put his book out there, you know, had written a text for it, and the only thing left to write was the last chapter, and that was, you know, the moment he saw her, and how he walked into the room, and how he felt, and he put all of those things in, and he had a publisher like me on the back end. He said, Tiff, listen, like literally, once I finish shooting this, before we publish this on the internet, I need this book published. He had his photographer take pictures of her, and I need you to send them over to Tiffany, or send them over to my cover designer, ASAP cover designer. I need that cover in a matter of 24 hours or less. Can you make it happen? No? Okay, I got to go with another cover designer. Could you imagine if, because I'm sure it took a while to edit that video, even if it took a few days, if he had a staff, that was just on top of their game in a matter of 3 days, and they would have had that stuff out there, and they would have had the book published. And at the end of the video, he said, I published my event, my event with this, or what have you, my walk, my planning, how I came to the decision that she was going to be my wife, and my time when I went to the dress shop, how I picked out the dress, how I determined who was going to do her makeup, how I determined who was going to do her hair. Had he had that book out there, that man would be a multi-millionaire as of right now. A multi-millionaire. He would have had that book edited. All he had to do was sit down and write the last chapter and say to the videographer, don't hit publish until we hit this book out here. We're going to have this book out in a matter of 5 days or less. 5 days or less. I'm going to sit at home and I'm going to write this last chapter. And, even though it's honeymoon, I'm going to put wife to sleep. That's all he had to do, put wife to sleep, get up, write that last chapter and be done with it, because he's written a book. I'm just trying to show you guys that this whole mindset of wait till I get there and then I'm going to put some content out there is silly, because it causes you to miss a major moment, a major opportunity. And you may be saying, well, how is a card game going to help me? You have no idea what opportunity God's going to throw you in. You have no idea where God's going to place you. You may be out one day and you may be sitting next to a multi-millionaire card game creator, manufacturer, something like that, who is just about to fire his whole staff because none of them can come up with an idea. None of them. Everybody's coming up with these played out ideas of a card game, and he sits next to you. And if you go to restaurants, you go out a little bit, you'll have that happen. Somebody sits next to you, you say, man, can you believe this? It's like, all I want, I'm paying people. I pay my CEO, I pay him $12 million a year. Do you hear me? $12 million a year. And the guy can't come up with one single idea. One single idea. And I'm paying him $12 million a year. He has an assistant. He's paying his assistant $1.4 million a year to help him come up with an idea. And this guy's too busy surfing on the internet, and he can't sit down and come up with an idea. One simple idea. And you say, idea for what? He said, what we're trying to do is create a board game. But I want a board game that's that outshadows life, the game of life. I want something that's just phenomenal. And you say, wow, that's coincidental. And he says, what do you mean? Well, I actually created a card game one time. It was a challenge of ours, and I kind of got into the feel of that. And so, can I show you my game? And you pull out your little deck that you carry around in your purse, or you pull out your phone and you have your stuff on it and you show it to him. And next thing you know, he's like, wow, did you copyright this? Yes, sir, I did. Still. But, yes, sir, I did. I copyrighted. And he's like, listen, let me give you my business card. And guys, this is a lens cleansing wipe, forgive me. But let me give you my business card. I love this idea. What are you doing with it? I just got it up on my website, but I haven't done much of anything with it. I would love to buy this idea for you. I want you to call Monday morning, 10 a.m., speak to my secretary. Let's set up a meeting, okay? All right? Good talk. And he walks off. You just set up here and set your children up for life. This is the type of stuff that you have to think of. And that may or may not happen to you. You never know. But at the end of the day, you want to stretch your vein of creativity, because God may be preparing you to do something else. You don't want to get stuck always in a 9-to-5 mindset, because some of you have a straight up 9-to-5 mindset. Your head is still stuck in 9-to-5, and you have not tapped into your creative vein as of yet, because you're stuck in thinking about what you want to do in life, as opposed to realizing that to get you to where God wants to get you, sometimes he uses other branches of creativity to grow you up. Sometimes he uses other branches of creativity to fertilize where he's trying to take you. I'm a living witness to that. I got different ideas, different things that I want to do. But God uses creativity to grow those things. He uses creativity, and he'll give me an idea on this. He'll give me an idea on that. I don't think this is a secret. But one of the things that I want to do in the very near future is I want to create my own perfume line. But I don't want the spray on. I want the oils. I love oils. I wear oils all the time. And they stay on and they smell so good. And I get so many compliments or what have you. I love oils. I don't like alcohol-based perfume. It stinks, or what have you. I like oils because a lot of times they work well with the scent of your body. They stick around a lot longer. They're not overpowering. I love oils. You can rub them on after a shower. You can roll them on. You can do whatever you want. I love oils. And so I want to create my own oil line. And so, as of right now, I'm still ignorant to that process. I know a little bit. I've done some research, but I'm still a little bit ignorant to that process. And so once I get everything that I need, oh yeah, once I have that, once the season comes around, I'm creating my own oil line. Sure enough. So with that being said, I'm going to get ready to close because I know we've been on here close to an hour. I just want to give you just a rundown when it comes to your card game. Trying to make sure I visit this again to make sure that I'm not forgetting anything with you guys. Again, my game is called Loan Shark. It's called Loan Shark. I gotta change the name of here. Mine is called Loan Shark. That's one of my first games. And again, I'm gonna do the microscribology. I'm excited about that one. I'm gonna see if I can come up with an objective today. That's what you do. You see how I'm gonna come up with an objective. I'm finishing off one game. My tsunami game, and I want to do my microscribology game, and so I have to have an objective. That's my goal. That's my homework assignment for myself. I'm going to come up with an objective today, and by this time tomorrow I plan to be finished, or no later than Sunday night. This is what I do to myself. This is how I finish things, is I put a timeline on myself. I don't leave things to chance. I don't leave things to feelings. I don't leave it to that. I just go ahead and say, that's a good idea. Let me work on it. Let me go ahead. I'm working on a customer's book. I got to publish a book today. I've already formatted the book. Praises be to God. So I've already gotten through the hard stuff. I've edited the book. I've gone back through it. I've proofread it again. And yeah, so I've formatted, and we're just waiting on the cover designer to send me over the cover so that I can go ahead and upload it, and I can hit publish on it. I got to publish it as an ebook as well. And then from there, baby girls, I am done. And I'm excited about that. And so I'm going to utilize this free time in between, because this is what I do. I'm showing you guys how I work. You guys remember, you're learning. You're learning. Learning from the mentor. So in between time, I'm sitting here working on my card game. I got up this morning. I got up a little bit earlier than normal, and I said, if they sent me the book cover, I'm going to go ahead and finish that. If not, I'm going to go work on my card game. I'm going to see if I can go ahead and finalize the card game tsunami that I'm working on. I'm going to try to finalize that before the close of the day, maybe within the next 2 hours. And then trying to see that, I know something I haven't done. I got to send a customer his book cover. Yeah, so that's only going to take me 15 minutes. But I'm going to finalize the card game as of today, and then I'm going to see if I can start on my microscribology card game. Maybe I'll go ahead and do one of the cards for the back of the card. Lastly, this is what I wanted to talk to you about. I knew I was kind of delaying for a reason. Your card game design. Your card game design, for those of you who want to publish your card games. You can find different ways to have them designed. If you know a graphic designer, then you can have the graphic designer to design your card for you. I want to see you guys rules and stuff like that. See you guys see what it is that you have down, and I'm gonna probably do one-on-ones. I'm gonna probably do one-on-ones with the people who are the most creative in their games. I'm going to try to set up maybe a 20 to 30 minute one-on-one with each person who puts in the most creativity to try to help you to figure out how to print your game. If I'm not going to do one-on-ones with somebody who's not planning to do anything with their game. If you're just doing it because it's an assignment, that's fine. I'm not mad at that, but that's content. Again, I'm going to want the content on your site. So, yeah, it's better, like I said, to make sure that you're protecting your game. I really want you guys to copyright your stuff. I want you to get into the habit of that. I know you may be saying, this stuff costs money. Business costs money. Starting a business, running a business, launching a magazine, all of those things cost money. And so I know for me, I can do the majority of my own designs, which works out good. And the reason I learned to do this, get this, wasn't because I went to school for it, because I didn't. I never stepped foot into a college. I sat down and learned it because I didn't want to pay nobody. That's why. I sat down and talked, or let the Lord teach me, because I didn't want to constantly pay people money. My vision was bigger than my budget. My vision was bigger than my budget. And I knew that the excellence that I wanted, that I couldn't afford it. I knew that the excellence, like I could go to people and they could do what I want, but they couldn't afford it. I knew that my vision was a little too detailed, so I decided to learn on my own. And so I went and got myself Photoshop. My first version of Photoshop was, but I got Photoshop, and now I have a really good legal version. But my first version of Photoshop, I sat there, I just played with it. I was like, what are all these tools? They look like Chinese. And I played with it, and just started figuring things out and stuff like that, and started learning. And that's been about 10 years ago now. 10 years ago now. So I'm really good with Photoshop as of right now. There's a lot I love to learn, but I'm pretty good. I created my game cards using Photoshop. You can find very, very, very cheap people to create your cards for you. The back of your card, you only have to have that created one time. The back of your card, unless you're trying to make two different backs, the back of your card, you only have to have that created one time. The front of your card, of course, if you have number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4, number 5, or if you're having something like that, then if you're going to have your card created, then you're going to have those created as many times. And so you want to find someone who is inexpensive. For those of you who are creative in your game, you put your time in, and you explain it, and you say, hey, I copyrighted and I'm doing this and I want to get it printed. I want to have the cards created. This is my vision for it. I'll be sitting down doing maybe a 20-minute talk with you guys. And so I'll help you to, I'll show you where to go to have them created for cheap. If you threw your crap together, I am not wasting my time. I'm sorry, I love y'all. But if you threw some stuff together, you weren't creative or what have you, and even, I get it, this is your first game, so I'm not expecting you to be a genius in it, but I do want to see effort. I'm serious. I want to see effort, because the reason I'm passionate about that, because if you see how creative you are, you're going to remain creative. If you see how creative you are, you're going to get excited about it, and before I can say anything, you'll be over there creating your next game, because you got a chance to see your creativity in motion. That's what happens. Whenever you get excited about something, you open up the vein between you and heaven, because God loves a cheerful giver. When you give your time into creating something with joy, you open up a vein and God starts to speak, because it's almost like when you give a child a gift, you give a child a toy, and the child gets it and they excited and they say thank you, and it's just a small gift. It's not that big of a deal. You get excited because you vicariously get to experience that child's joy, and so from there you want to go and give the child more. It's like, I want to give this. You go out to the store, and I'm gonna tell you guys this, and then we'll get ready to close. Milo has, I don't even want to tell you how many toys he has. He has a bunch of plush toys. Let me tell you why Milo has so many toys. When people come to my house, they're just like, okay, yeah, you bought that dog that much stuff. Yeah, I did. That's my baby. But the reason Milo has a lot of toys is because when I lived in Florida, I used to have to crate Milo before I went out. And so I would deal with guilt really bad anytime I would have to leave him at home by himself, because I would have to put him in the crate and lock him in there. And of course, he would clown, and thankfully I had a really good neighbor. She's just like, oh, no, it's no problem. When I hear Milo, I know it's just Milo, and then you're never gone long, and what have you. And I used to have to deal with her. Her grandbaby used to be throwing fits in their house as well. I could hear her screaming and crying. I'm like, no big deal. And so, she was really cool. We had a really good relationship and what have you. But I used to feel guilty at first. And so in order to get Milo to calm down, I used to tell him, I'll bring you something back. That was those were my words to him. I'll bring you something back. And when I come back, I would bring him a toy, and I said, I brought you something. And he get it. When I let him out, he would get so excited. He would play with it. He would run all over the place. He would jump up and down. He would just be excited with that toy. It got to the point where when I said, I'll bring you something back, he would run into his kennel with joy. And, even though he wasn't excited about me leaving, he was excited because he knew I was going to come back with something. And so it got to the point where every time I left the house, because the majority of the time I left, I was heading to Walmart or someplace like that, but almost every time I left the house, he would rush up into his cart, his kennel, and he would just wait for me to come on back. He clowned, of course. He would clown, And I come back and bring him his toy, and it made me excited to buy for him because of his reaction. It made me excited to buy for him, and God utilized that moment to speak to me. He said, you see how much joy you get in making him happy. Just imagine how much joy I get in making you happy. If God opens up a creative vein with you and you get happy about it and you get excited about it, then God keeps speaking through there. He says, okay, I saw you jumping up and down. I saw your heart leap, so I want to give it to you again. I want to do it for you again. If you act entitled and stuck up, no, nobody wants to give you. You know, you ever go up to a child and give them something and they just like, in the back of your head, you're like, I'll never give you nothing again. I'll never give you nothing again. They just sit up there. What's this? I don't play baseball. Instead of just saying thank you, you're just like, okay, all right, never buy you nothing else again. And so that's how God is. God looks at us and he says, okay, when you show excitement, when you put time and energy into something, then God wants to continue to keep speaking to you through that mic. So we'll talk about printing your cards. If you guys have any questions about copyrights and stuff like that, I posted up something on the message board. Make sure you're reading these articles. Make sure you're reading these articles. And let me say this lastly. And I'll make sure I reach out to the mentor, the group leaders. Group leaders, if there's somebody on the message board that has quit and has not notified me, let me know. If you quit and you're still on the message board, do me a favor and go ahead and delete yourself. Because listen, we're in a place where we're trying to move forward. The reason I say that, because I'm not dealing with any lurkers. I'm not dealing with that, guys. I know you guys think that I may not be saying nothing as fast. Sometimes I just wait around to see if people are going to do the right thing. You know, I don't like mind games. I don't like when people try to play mind games and stuff like that. But believe you me, I see, I know, and I'm paying attention to the behaviors of the people. So, again, guys, I want you to be really creative when it comes to your card game. I knew I said I was going to come out and talk to y'all. I want you to be really creative when it comes to your card game. You can help each other out, you know, offer resources and stuff like that. Like I said, I'll sit down and talk to some of you who, you know, you may have, you know, you've been really creative with your game and you're able to explain it. Oh, yes. Lastly, for real. That's not a part of the homework assignment for the 22nd, but I am going to give you guys another assignment relating to your card game. For those of you who decide to have it done in print, I am going to give you another assignment. And even those who don't have it done in print, I'm going to give you a challenge. And your assignment, your goal, I'm going to probably give you guys another month onto this. Maybe not a month, but your goal, your assignment is going to be to get some players together and create a video of them playing your game. Now, some of you may be saying, hey, you know, I'm going to have that done in print. Listen, guys, it's $5 to print. For those of you who are going to print, if you're not going to print, if you're going to use a traditional card deck, you can go to the dollar store and get a traditional card deck for $1. You probably have one laying around your house somewhere. You probably got a family member who has several card decks around their house. But if you're going to print them off, then I'm going to try to give you guys ample time to have them printed or what have you. We'll talk about that. I'm not going to say for sure that it's going to be a month, but I am thinking a month. The reason I'm saying I'm not going to say for sure is because I do understand that somebody may have an extremely, well, I'll say this, it's going to be per person. One of you may have an extremely detailed game, which is going to be costly to print, or not so much to print, but to have the characters and stuff designed. My goal, first and foremost, is to show you a cheap alternative that you can use, and it can be done in excellence, because it's only like $5 to print the game. But I don't want to put you guys in a financial bind or anything like that. But I do want you to print your card games off for those of you who are going to have them print. And I do want you to have somebody playing it. Now, if you're going to use a traditional card deck, you have to create a video with somebody, you know, with your people playing it, you know, playing it. And so the game, in the video, they have to have or show clearly how the game is played. I don't want you just creating a 10-second clip of people smiling with some cards and people don't know. And it's just, yeah. No, I want it to be clear. You start off the video, and this assignment will be due in a month. Assignment will be due a month after the 22nd. So I'll give you guys to what month are we in? We're in April. Okay, so your assignment is due April, so it'll be May 22nd. That'll be the assignment for this. And I want this sooner than the 22nd if you can, but if not, then don't worry about it. But the 22nd, I want you to have 4 people sitting around, and I want you to start your video off, and I want to see your face on the video. This is to keep people from trying to cheat. And on the video, I want you to say, hi, this is, and you say your name, like let's just say if I'm doing a video, I'll say, hi, this is Tiffany Buckner, and this is a demonstration of my game, my new game, Loan Shark, being played. Have fun. And then I show the people playing the game. I show them playing the game. Now, I want them playing the game at least 5 minutes. 5 minutes. 5 minutes. I know I'm challenging y'all, but I'm listen, hear me when I say this. You'll be happy once this program is over with. When you see the fruit that you produce, you'll be excited about it. This group is not for people to be ordinary. I'm not trying to raise you up to be ordinary. This is not an ordinary mentorship program. This is not one of those type of programs where you just hear it and you just hear me talking and then you clock out and then I come back and talk to you some more and then you come out of it having said, well, she said a whole lot in the program. No, this mentorship program is about fruit. This is the reason why we've had people to quit, because we've had people to come into the program and clearly, guys, I'm gonna be just transparent with you guys because I think I could talk to y'all like this. But there are people that came into this program with the intent of getting coaching, and I've said this to y'all before. There are people that came into the program, their goal was just really to get coaching from me. That's it and that's all. They get on the calls and they just sit up and they ask 1,000 questions about relationships at the end of the calls, nothing relating to the call. It's because they didn't want to pay me the $99 an hour that I charge for coaching. And so people will get into a mentorship program, and that's the reason why responsibility drove them out of the program. Responsibility drove them out. They didn't want the responsibility. They wanted the perks. They wanted the, and they want to be able to say, oh, I was in this program, I trained with Tiffany Buckner. No, they can't even use my name. I'm not going to even let them use my name at the end of the day because they didn't finish it. If somebody come to me and say, such and such said she was in your program, yeah, she quit too. I'm going to tell them straight out, she quit too. Because she could, the thing about it is, people do those type of things. This is not that type of program where you're just coming in and listening. At the end of the program, we're going to have an award ceremony. I'm going to give you guys awards for creativity, for your attitude, just different types of awards or what have you. I don't know, but I'm going to make sure that everybody that's still in the program, I'm going to make sure that that you are part of the awards program. Now, if I never hear from you and I don't know about you and I forget half of the time that you're in the program because I don't see you doing nothing, then you're probably not going to get an award. You're grown. This is a leadership program. This isn't designed to give people stuff just to make them feel good. It's to really teach you leadership, even if that means that sometimes I have to step on your foot. Even if that means that sometimes I have to offend you. I know sometimes we have to recover from offense. My apostle, my church, we always say we do life together. And I do believe that when it comes to mentorship. I believe that every mentor has people who are called to him or her. And if you're called to me, we're probably going to do life together. That means that we're going to be cool for the rest of our lives. I'm going to know you, you're going to know me, you'll know my number, I know your number. I believe that. But the people who are not called to me, are sitting around, or they'll come into the program and really they already have something in their hearts that they want to pull from it, and when they're not getting what they want from it, then they're going to pull out of it because they're not trying to get pushed into leadership. More so their objective was more on a personal level as opposed to them trying to grow up level, if that makes sense. So anyhow, guys, you'll have to sit down and do a 5-minute video. That assignment will be due on the 22nd of next month. That particular one will be due on the 22nd of next month. I may shorten it or I may extend it. It depends after I talk to you guys and I see where you are. And like I said, for me, if it happens to be like if you created something really elaborate and it's going to be costly, then of course I'm not going to tell you to do that all at one time because I don't want to put you in any type of bind. I don't want to put you in any type of bind. I am going to try to show you how to do a shortcut where you can do it super cheap. As for me, my loan shark game, I was able to create my number cards. I wouldn't have it any other way because I like to create my own stuff anyhow. There's a sense of pride that you get from creating your own stuff. But my character cards, I'll be creating them from the characters that the guy is drawing, and he won't have them ready till the 18th. It sucks. But when it comes to my other games, I'll probably be able to create them. And so if you do something super creative, for those of you, as a matter of fact, I think I'm going to do that for at least one person. The person who has the most creative game, I'm going to create the back of your card for you. I'll create the back of your card. I'm not going to say I'm going to create your whole card game for you, because you may get real creative being in. You're trying to, but we'll see. I'm going to reward the person who does the most creative game. I'm going to reward the person who does the most creative game, because I'm really wanting you guys to tap into your creativity. And hear me on this. If you don't win, don't quit the program. We got people quitting for petty reasons. We got people quitting because I told them no, I didn't use their idea. You know, I decided not to go with their idea, and they quit because you don't go with their idea. It just silly, childish things that show me that they're not ready for leadership. So let's make sure that we are, being mature with this. So let me close this out, guys, because I've held you long enough. I love y'all. I hope this message blessed you. God bless you.